person who is allowed to smoke on this boat. That's me. But that's only because I am smoking hot. I'm also single, ladies. Our fourth, final, and most important rule here on the Sea Dog is to have fun. If you folks wanted a slow, boring ride with lots of facts and no bad jokes, you would have gotten on the slow blue and white boat up at the front of the pier. But no, you chose a big yellow speedboat with a cartoon dog on the side. So you folks obviously want to have a good time. We're going to do what we can to make sure that happens. Okay, now that all of that is out of the way, let's do some crew introductions. We will start right up there with the man who makes it all happen. I need everyone to turn, wave, and say, "Hi, Captain Deep Dish." Deep Dish, stop listening for a moment. So that's my boss up there. You all have to pretend you at least like the cruise, because if you don't, he will fire me. You can listen again. Next, let's say hi to that man right there with that hook. I need everyone to turn, wave, and say, "Hi, Albert." Albert is our first mate. He's going to be keeping an eye on us, making sure we all have a safe, fun, happy, and healthy cruise. And last, but certainly not least, it's everyone's favorite, the man, the myth, the legend. I speak, of course, of myself. Hello, everyone. My name is Jake, Mr. Showtime. I'm going to be your tour guide this afternoon. Make as much noise as you possibly can. My ego needs it. It's the best part of the job. Okay, folks, we are now situated here in the Chicago Harbor locks. While we're in the locks, I want you folks to keep your eyes open. So these locks are operated by the United States Army Corps of Engineers. You can see their flag right up there. It's the red one with a castle on it. At this site, they employ my favorite government employee in the entire United States. The entire world. The story goes that when the locks were first opened, they had a big problem with birds, specifically geese and seagulls. Ellie's job is to run up and down the locks all day, chasing off the birds, keeping the locks clean. Ellie is an Australian shepherd. She is Ellie the lock dog, and if we're lucky, we'll get to see her out here doing her work. She does quite a good job, as you can see. So, thanks, God. Okay, so while we're here, situated in the locks, time for one of my favorite parts of the cruise. You folks want to play some games? We can do better than that. Let's try this one more time. You folks want to play some games? Better. Well, you're probably wondering, well, what do I get? If I play these games, what do I get? I will tell you folks what you get. You get boat points. Boat points. You probably want to ask right about now. Hey, Jake, what are boat points? I'm glad you asked, audience. I made them up. They have no value. They're redeemable for nothing. It's just really fun to say. Try it with me. Boat points. Boat points. Okay, so we're going to play 3 different games today. First game. Who has traveled the furthest to be here today? If you think you traveled further than anyone else to come to Chicago, come to Navy Pier, get on the Sea Dog, raise your hand, we'll see where we're from. Seeing a very enthusiastic hand all the way in the back. California. Anyone further than California? Really? No one crossed an ocean? Usually I have some. India! Yeah, can anyone beat India? Yeah, it's pretty hard to beat, like, the other side of the literal globe. 10 boat points for India. To be here today. If you think you had a shorter commute than anyone else to come out to Navy Pier today, raise that hand. We'll see where Chicago fact. If you have a cool fact about the city of Chicago, hand, we'll see what it is. Get you some boat points. You know, these do not need to be like cold, hard facts. Raised her hand, and she said, "My dad lives here." I gave her so many boat points. And these could be anything even tangentially related to Chicago. Here's a Chicago quiz question for you then. Everything goes on in a Chicago-style hot dog except ketchup. Yes, you don't put ketchup on a hot dog in Chicago. You just don't do it. I don't know why that's the rule, but that's the rule. There's even some hot dog restaurants in Chicago that don't even have ketchup in the building. You have to bring your own if you want to do that. Chicago's also home to the second worst type of pizza in the country, deep dish. You should try deep dish while you're here. Definitely try it. It's pretty good pizza. But it's not what you want to be eating every time you eat pizza. But at least it's better than the worst kind of pizza in the country, in my humble opinion. Detroit style. I know a lot of people are really fans of Detroit style, but it's too bready. It's the square kind with like the bread's this thick, and then you got like a tiny layer of cheese. It's too much bread. But hey, what can I say? Abraham Lincoln was born in Kentucky. Yes. I don't remember the name. That was a game of Chicago River is a very interesting river. Most rivers on the face of this planet will flow into the nearest large body of water to them. So by that logic, the Chicago River should flow out into Lake Michigan, yeah? It doesn't. It used to, but it doesn't anymore. So, let's go in the way back machine, back to when Chicago was still a very new city. Our biggest industry here in the early days of Chicago was meat packing. So there's a lot of cattle in the city. There's also a lot of people coming here from all over the world. And Chicago doesn't have a sewer system. So there's a lot of people, there's a lot of animals, there's a lot of poo. And where does all of that poo end up? The Chicago River, which flows out into Lake Michigan, where we get all of our drinking water. So some of the top nerds in Chicago all get together, going to come up with a solution to this problem. One of them raises their hand and says, I got it. I've just come back from Europe. In Europe, they have these really cool things called sewer systems. Big tubes under the city where you put all your poo and you just get to forget about it. It's a great idea. Let's build a sewer system in Chicago. Now you would think, if you're going to build a sewer system in a city that already exists, you would start digging under the buildings, right? Under the streets. Now, here in Chicago, we're built different. We lifted up the entire city and built the sewer underneath. They put jacks under the buildings, jacked them up, lifted the entire city up. So we have a sewer system in Chicago. Well, all sewer systems have to release out somewhere, yeah? And where did they pick for the Chicago sewer system? Lake Michigan, where all that poo was already flowing. But they just built it further out into the lake, so it wouldn't be near the shore where we get the water. Yeah, no, one of them raises his hand. I've got it. The end of the Chicago River isn't all that far away from the Des Plaines River. What if we just dig a trench, combine the two rivers together, the Des Plaines flows into the Mississippi River, making it a much bigger river system. Chicago will reverse its this idea further down the Mississippi River. Because they know if all that Chicago, poo water starts flowing, stop the project. And one night, the commissioner of the project, someone's friend, the sticks of dynamite, and the wall disappears. The Twin Tower is that it's kind of shaped like a gigantic. Remember, multi-million-dollar condo building. A lot of famous people have lived there over the years. Alice Cooper, very famous rock star, lived there. Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn, very famous actors, lived there. Oprah Winfrey never lived there. Do not believe the slander. Oprah lives in Oprah's house. I don't live there because I'm very poor. So this building was designed by architect Ludwig Mies van der Rohe. Van der Rohe wanted to build this building in Berlin, Germany in the 1930s. We all remember what happened in Germany in the 30s, so didn't get to do it there. Some of his students used the designs and built the building here. If you look, though, you'll notice something interesting. This building is east of Lakeshore Drive. There is a law on the books in Chicago that states that, yeah, so, sorry folks, 3 years. A homeless man found a little hidey hole in one of the two sides, set himself up a home. He had electricity in there. He had a television. He had a Sony PlayStation, all inside the bridge. City of Chicago claimed he only lived there for 3 months. He says 3 years. I know who I believe. This building coming up right over here with the 3 consecutively taller towers is the 3rd tallest building in the city of Chicago. That is the St. Regis Tower. St. Regis is also the tallest building in the world, designed by a female architect. Albert's going to come around with free water, folks. I do recommend staying hydrated today. It is it's a scorcher out there. We actually bottled all this water this morning right from the Chicago River. So St. Regis Tower is Amazon. Bought a condo in there right when they were finishing up the building. The designers told him it would be ready in 5 to 7 business days. He said no. Make sure it's ready overnight. This is prime real estate. Prime is like Amazon. Amazon Prime. This building right up here, shaped like a triangle, that is Swiss Hotel. Not Swiss Hotel, Swiss Hotel. Swiss Hotel was designed by architect Harry Weiss. Weiss liked to design triangular buildings, for one, because he was a sailor and thought triangular buildings looked like ship sails, but also it gives you great views of the world around you. Now, Weiss did design 2 different triangular buildings here in Chicago. If you have a choice to stay at either one, you definitely want to stay right there at Swiss Hotel, because the other one is the Metropolitan Jailhouse. Much better amenities right there at Swiss Hotel. Okay, if you look way ahead of us, folks, you'll see the next bridge has 2 different signs on it. One of those signs says Michigan Avenue. That's because the street that goes over that bridge is Michigan Avenue. Michigan Avenue is called Michigan Avenue because Lake Michigan used to extend all the way out to Michigan Avenue. But as we built more and more buildings in the city, lakefront got pushed further and further back, putting it where it is today. But then you'll see the other sign says Du Sable Bridge. That is because of Jean-Baptiste Pont du Sable. Jean-Baptiste Pont du Sable was the first non-indigenous person to settle on the land later known as Chicago. Unfortunately, a lot of his history has been kind of forgotten or covered over by the history books because he was of African descent. So we're doing what we can nowadays here in Chicago to remember his legacy as basically being the father of the city. Right up here on the north side, there is a bust and a plaque commemorating where we believe his trading post probably was. It's probably right around here. There's also a bunch of streets and schools and such, all named after him now. Again, that is the father of Chicago. Coming up right behind me, there is a very, very tall building. I bet you can't guess what it's called. That is the Trump International Tower, yes. Trump Tower is the 2nd tallest building in the city of Chicago. It was designed by world-famous architect Adrian Smith, who also designed the tallest building in the world, the Burj Khalifa in Dubai. So this building is a really cool example of postmodern architecture. The main tenets of postmodernism is that buildings should reflect nature. So it's got mirrored windows to quite literally be reflective. It's got a little curve here, kind of like the river does. It's got a 3-tiered design to fit in with the skyline around it. There is, however, one major element of this building that is not postmodern. That's those big gold letters across the front. That's not postmodern, that is just ego. This next building right behind Trump Tower is the AMA Plaza. AMA Plaza is home to the American Medical Association. Used to be the headquarters of IBM. Also, might look familiar if you're a fan of Batman. During the Dark Knight trilogy, that building was home to the mayor of Gotham's office, as well as Harvey Dent's office. The building was designed by Ludwig Mies van der Rohe, same guy that designed the fidget spinner building out front. But this was a lot more indicative of his style. Van der Rohe believed the building should look like what they are on the inside, on the outside. So since that's an office building, it's very boring. Also, since it used to be IBM, it's kind of designed to look like a big computer server. Now, some of Van der Rohe's students did not agree with that philosophy. They thought buildings should be beautiful, like things from nature. So they built these two towers right here. These are the Marina City Towers. They designed these buildings to look like rose petals falling from heaven. But if you ask anyone from Chicago, they look like two gigantic corn cobs. I see the corn cobs. So those are the Marina City Towers because it's basically an entire city inside of a tower. Everything you need to live your life is in there. Your home, your grocery store, your gym, your dry cleaner. It's all inside the tower. It's also right next door to the House of Blues. So if you like concerts, it would be a great place to live. You wouldn't even have to Uber home at night. The next building coming up on our right is the oldest building on our cruise. This is the Reed Murdoch Building. So, Reed Murdoch Building has served a lot of different purposes over its long lifespan. It's actually currently headquarters of the Encyclopedia Britannica, which I thought was in England because Britannica. If you look at the building, though, you might notice it is lopsided. That side is longer than this side. When the building was first built, it was perfectly symmetrical, but LaSalle Street, that we are now passing under, at one point needed to be widened. So they shaved off a portion of the Reed Murdoch Building. This right here is one of the newer buildings on our tour. This is 300 North LaSalle Street. If you look right there where that gentleman is standing, you can see a little circular plaque denoting this building as a LEED Platinum certified building. LEED stands for Leadership in Ecological Efficiency and Design. So it's a very green building. They actually take water in from the river for their heating and air conditioning systems and pump it back out into the river cleaner than when they took it. Very cool building, doing a lot of good work for the earth. This building on our right here is one of the largest buildings in Chicago that isn't also very, very tall. This is the Merchandise Mart. So Merchandise Mart is so big, and this building is so big, that until the year 2010, it had its own zip code. There's only one other building in the country that has its own zip code. That is the Pentagon. This building is so big, it has its own train station. As you can also see, there are 8 busts out front. Those are all famous, prominent Chicago businessmen. So like most statues in this country, it's a bunch of old dead white dudes. We are now pulling into Wolf Point. Wolf Point is one of my favorite spots on the tour, because right about here, on a really good day, it smells like brownies. Unfortunately today, it just smells like river. So some of the newest development in Chicago is happening right here in Wolf Point. See this building right here, still being built. One right next to it was just finished last year. One in front of us, just finished in the last couple of years. All of this development is being funded by the Kennedy family, JFK, his family. But also, some of the oldest sites in Chicago were right here. Right over on this bank was the Saginaw Hotel. Saginaw Hotel was the very first hotel built in the state of Illinois. It's actually where Abraham Lincoln was chosen to run for president. Also, there used to be a bar on each of the 3 points of Wolf Point. There used to be a barge that would just run from bar to bar to bar to bar. Because no matter how far back you go into the history of Chicago, above all else, we've always been a city that loves drinking. This is vodka. You all tried Malort yet? You should definitely try Malort while you're here. It tastes very, very good if you're of age. Believe me, it's good. Suckers. This next building coming up on our right is Boeing Tower. Boeing Tower is headquarters of Boeing Aircraft. I only mention this building for two different reasons. For one, it's a very pretty building. It's nice to look at. But also, I've been visiting there a lot. I'm trying to convince Boeing to give me an airplane. I don't have a pilot's license. I don't know how to fly a plane. But I'm pretty sure if I just got in there, I'd be able to figure it out. I mean, I've watched Sully a couple of times. But until then, I'm stuck here on the boat, which I also do not know how to drive. It makes getting home very hard. This building over here is 2 North Riverside Plaza. So 2 North Riverside Plaza, as you look at it, you might notice it's kind of shaped like the Sphinx in Egypt. You see the 2 clock towers out front, kind of like the paws of the Sphinx out front. The front bit with all the windows, kind of like the head, the face, all of that. The building was built right around the same time King Tut's tomb was discovered. So Egyptian stuff was all the rage here in the United States. It was also the very first building in the country to have a plaza built out front for people to enjoy, which was really confusing to people at the time because the river was still super gross. But it caught on, and now we've got plazas all over the world. If you look behind these pillars right over here on our right, you'll see train tracks back there. You might even see a train going by. So it's a bunch of train tracks back there. All of the railroad track here in Chicago was established by a man named Samuel Insull. If you were to go stand on those railroad tracks during Samuel Insull's day and look straight up, you would probably be hit by a train because you weren't paying attention. But also, if you look straight up on those days, you would see the sky above you. Insull found a loophole in the law which stated that if you own land, you own it from the depths of Hades below all the way up to the heavens above. So he sold the air above his railroad tracks, allowing other people to develop that land. And the rich, as they say, get richer. But let us turn our attention to the other side of the boat, because coming up between these buildings, you will see the tallest building in Chicago, the jewel of the skyline. You will see the Sears Tower. That's a bridge. It's not this one, it's the one behind this one. So Sears Tower has a very odd quirk to it. If you look Sears Tower up on a map, it's actually spelled Willis, but it is pronounced Sears Tower. So for all my out-of-towners, that's some Chicago humor for you. Back in the year 2009, they changed the name of the building from Sears Tower to Willis Tower. But we here in Chicago still tend to call it the Sears Tower, mostly because we are afraid of change. So you can see Sears Tower is very, very tall. If you look all the way up near the top, you'll see some open-looking windows. That is a part of Skydeck. Skydeck is the observation deck on Sears Tower. You get some really great views from up there. On a clear day like today, you can see Illinois. Obviously, we're already here. You can see east into Indiana, north into Wisconsin, and on a really, really clear day, you can see across the lake into Detroit. Also, those open-looking windows up there are not actually open windows. Those are glass boxes. So that's part of what's called the ledge experience. The ledge are these glass boxes they built outside of the windows. You can step out into that glass box and stand on nothing but an inch and a half thick of clear glass. You look straight down hundreds of feet straight down, and all the people below you, like the tiny, insignificant ants they truly are. Sorry, I went somewhere there for a moment. Now, I will warn you about that experience, though. On two separate occasions, someone was standing out in one of those boxes, and the glass cracked. No one got hurt. No one got hurt when it happened. But they did need to buy new pants afterwards. There is enough wiring in Willis Tower alone to wrap around the Earth twice. Very large, very impressive building. Actually held the title of world's tallest building for longer than any other building all ever has. 27 years. Hey, can you guys do me a quick favor? Can you pretend I just said something really funny so they think I'm a really good tour guide? I love you guys. This building here, Chicago Mercantile Exchange building, despite the name, they don't actually do any stock trading there. It's all office space. And they have an event space right there on the river. So if you know anyone that wants to get married in an office building, that's the spot to do it. You also need better friends. But the building I really want to talk about in our cruise right about here is this one. This is the Civic Opera House, also known as Insul's Throne. It's called Insul's Throne because if you look, it kind of looks like a chair. One arm there, one arm there, the seat's right there, the back is way back there. Legend goes, Samuel Insull, same guy that built the railroad tracks over there, had a wife. And his wife was an opera singer, but not a very good opera singer. She tried to get singing jobs out in New York, but no one would hire her. So her husband built her an opera house here in Chicago to sing at. If you notice, the chair faces west, out over all of Insull's railroad tracks where he made his money. And it has its back to the east, New York, where they shunned his wife. Now, just in case any of you happen to work for the opera or know anyone that does work in the opera world, I will be presenting my audition for the next opera here in Chicago. La donna mobile, la punta al vento. Thank you, folks. Thank you, thank you. I will, however, be sticking to my day job. This building, right over here, colloquially known as the Beaver Building. It's called the Beaver Building because it kind of looks like a tree that a beaver has been eating at the bottom of. See, it's thinner at the bottom than it is up top. A lot of people in Chicago very afraid of this building. I'm one of them. I think all it's going to take is one stiff wind to just knock it over into the river. And as you can feel, Deep just slowed the boat down because he knows it messes with me. It's safe for now. As you can see, this boat right here doesn't know how to spell the word omelet. This building right over here to our right is one of Chicago's favorite buildings. It's called 333 West Wacker Drive. It's another really cool example of postmodern architecture. As you can see, it's got a curve just like the river does here. It's kind of green in color, just like the river is here. Shaped like a hot pocket because people on river cruises usually get hungry right about here. That building might also look familiar if you're a fan of Ferris Bueller's Day Off. There's a great scene in that film where the main character, Ferris, is singing at the front of a parade. His father looks out of his office window to see him doing so. That is the office he is working at. Great scene, great movie. So that building is on Wacker Drive. Wacker Drive itself is a very interesting road because because it is built in 2 levels. There's Wacker Drive up top, which is all your through traffic, everyone trying to get somewhere in a hurry. Below that is also Lower Wacker Drive, which is local traffic, docking bays, all of that. And in one spot, there is even Lower Wacker Drive, which is the city impound lot. And I only mention that part because I need your help breaking my car. Tonight we're all going to get together, we're going to break it. For legal reasons, that was a joke. Ha 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 ha. Wink. Also, that road was used in the Batman films during the Dark Knight trilogy. There's a great car chase scene filmed on Lower Wacker Drive where, Batman is chasing the bad guys, a bunch of explosions go off. Interestingly, those were real explosions. City of Chicago asked the filmmakers to use real explosions that would do real damage to the road because they wanted to do renovations. So the filmmakers did that, tore up the road a bunch. Chicago got to go in and fix it all up. So, thanks, Hollywood. Never thought I'd say that. If you look over here on our right, we are coming across the Chicago City Riverwalk. Riverwalk was a project proposed by former Mayor Rahm Emanuel. It's kind of a thank you to the citizens of Chicago for putting up with how gross the river was for so long. Now, don't get me wrong, the river's still pretty disgusting, but it's gone from toxic to just probably no drink. I still drink Chicago river water, and I've only grown a small tail. Every section of Riverwalk is a different design to show that the river is always flowing, always changing. And it also shows how Chicago has grown and changed because of the river. This section right here is especially popular during summer days. On a good day, it'll just be full of people who just sit there all day, waving at boats. Sometimes they like to sit there and yell at boats. They'll be all like, "Hi, boat! Hi, boat!" It's really annoying. If we look right up ahead, you'll see a building up there, has some gold up top. Question I always get, yes, it is real gold. So tonight, after we get my car, I'll get some ladders and climb up the roof. For legal reasons, that was another joke. Ha 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 ha, wink. So that is the carbon and carbide building. The legend goes that the carbon and carbide building was designed to look like a gigantic champagne bottle. It was built during Prohibition, so it's kind of a symbol to the rest of the country what Chicago thinks about not being allowed to drink. We love drinking here. Another building with a somewhat similar design is this one right up here, where it gets thinner up at the top. That is the Jewelers Building. So the Jewelers Building used to be a place where people that dealt in jewels and gems and gold and all that kind of stuff could meet and trade their wares. Also, up at the very, very top of the building, under that big, beautiful dome up there, was the Stratosphere Lounge. Stratosphere Lounge was a speakeasy, an illegal bar during Prohibition, operated by Al Capone. Al Capone, very famous mobster here in the city of Chicago, head of the South Side Italian Mafia, the Chicago outfit. Also very famous for being an inmate at Alcatraz prison out in California. But the important thing to remember about Al Capone did not get sent to prison for any of his mafia-related crimes. Al Capone got sent to prison for tax fraud. So just remember, if you ever decide you want to mess with the United States government, do not mess with the IRS. They will get you. Every time. Every time. See a building up ahead of us that says Chicago Tribune on it? That is Tribune Tower, former home of the Chicago Tribune. It's one of the few Gothic architecture buildings in Chicago. You can tell that it is Gothic architecture because up at the top, It's got all those really cool flying buttresses. Buttress. Butts. Sorry, I'm 10 years old. Also, right in front of Tribune Tower, we have an Apple store. Ooh, fancy. I always get really nervous whenever I have to walk past that building. I'm afraid I'm just going to trip and the entire thing is going to shatter. I did, however, go in there once. I tried to buy a Granny Smith. They said they're not that kind of Apple store. So I ate an iPhone instead. It wasn't very good. There's also a dinosaur on it because dinosaurs invented iPhones? I don't know. I don't get it. Up here we got a tall building with the proud peacock logo up top. That is NBC Tower. NBC Tower is an Art Deco building. It's actually designed to look like 30 Rockefeller Center in New York City. A lot of television programs have been filmed there over the years. You know, Judge Mathis, that TV show you watch when you're homesick from work, filmed there. Jenny Jones Show was filmed there. Oprah was not filmed there. Oprah had Harpo Studios, which is just Oprah backwards. One of my favorite shows of all time was filmed there, though. And I need everyone that remembers it to chant with me now. Jerry, 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 Jerry. Jerry Springer was filmed right there at NBC Tower. Sad I never got to see that show. I never got my Jerry beats. Also, that's where Sea Dog corporate offices are, so if you want to tell them about how great your tour guide was, you can visit there. And if you don't want to tell them about how great your tour guide was, don't. This building right here is the Sheraton Hotel. Sheraton Hotel is said to be the safest hotel in the city of Chicago. It's where foreign dignitaries stay when they come to town, U.S. presidents, important people. One of the things that makes it so safe, right up there, they've got a helicopter pad. So if anyone needs to make an escape in a hurry, they can do so from there. I've also been told that the entire security staff are all ninjas, but I've never seen it myself, so I don't know. But again, that is the thing about ninjas. You never do see it. If we look right up here on our left coming up, you see a little like pyramid structure, a little triangular structure. That is the Centennial Fountain. So the Centennial Fountain is a fountain that shoots water across the river. It's kind of a symbol of unity. You know, the north side and the south sides have a lot of differences. But ultimately, we are all one city, and we all really do love each other. But I can tell you who doesn't love Centennial Fountain. It's people that work on boats with no roof. Because that fountain shoots water across the river for 5 minutes. It used to do so for 10 minutes. On a colder day, if that were going off, we just have to sit there and wait. Now, on a nice warm day, when Captain Deep just feel a little frisky, we just run right on under. But luckily today, we did not have to worry about that. If we look way up here to our left, you will see a white wooden wall. That is the Great Wall of Chicago. Ooh. So that's actually a former construction site. That was going to be home to the Chicago Spire. Chicago Spire was going to be the new tallest building in the city of Chicago. For reference, it was going to be 2,000 feet tall. The current tallest building, Willis Tower, is only about 1,400 feet tall. So it's going to be quite a bit taller than the current tallest building. But funding just kept falling through. They couldn't get it all together. So We're going to put that land to much better use, in my humble opinion. We're going to turn it into a public park. We love public parks here in Chicago, so we're always more than happy to have a new one. I just hope they don't put more bad public art in it by Anish Kapoor. That's the guy that designed the Bean cloud games. Terrible human being. Bad person. Look him up sometime.